Did you think Hollywood's greatest leading men were simply born perfect? Some hid impossible loves. One survived an accident that changed his face forever, and another was laid to rest beside the great love of his life, even though he was married to someone else when he died. Welcome to Gisela'sStyleRoyal. Today we're discovering the 10 most handsome actors of classic Hollywood, 10 unforgettable faces that defined an era. Stay with us until the very end, because the man at number 1 hid behind his famous smile a story far more incredible than the world ever imagined. And if you love glamour, royalty, and the great legends of cinema, subscribe to the channel. Let's begin. Number 10. Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson was one of the great Hollywood heartthrobs of the 1950s. Tall, handsome, elegant, with an image carefully crafted by Hollywood. But Rock Hudson wasn't even his real name. He was born Roy Harold Shearer Jr., and his agent, Henry Wilson, transformed his name, and even his appearance, to create a movie star. After a difficult beginning, Hudson starred in Giant alongside Elizabeth Taylor, earning the only Academy Award nomination of his career. And later, in Pillow Talk, something delightful happened. Alongside Doris Day, he proved that behind that impossibly handsome face was a wonderful talent for comedy. But while millions of women admired him, Rock Hudson was living with a secret. At a time when being openly gay could destroy a Hollywood career, he carefully kept his sexuality hidden from the public, maintaining the image of the perfect romantic leading man. Then, in 1985, everything changed. Rock Hudson died at just 59 from AIDS-related complications. His death shocked the world and brought enormous attention to a disease that was still widely misunderstood. Rock Hudson opens our ranking as a true symbol of classic Hollywood beauty. But number 9? He possessed a kind of elegance that Hollywood could never manufacture. Number 9. Gregory Peck. Gregory Peck had a very different kind of beauty. Tall, serene, and effortlessly elegant. With his deep voice, classic features, and unmistakable air of dignity, he seemed to embody the perfect gentleman of Hollywood's golden age. One of his most unforgettable moments came in Roman Holiday, alongside Audrey Hepburn. Peck was already a major star, but he immediately recognized something special in the young actress. He insisted that Hepburn receive prominent billing alongside him, a generous gesture that revealed something about the man behind the movie star. And from that film came a friendship that would last for decades. But perhaps no role reflected Gregory Peck more deeply than Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. That unforgettable performance earned him the Academy Award after 4 previous nominations. And his own love story had a touch of Hollywood romance. He met French journalist Véronique Passani when she interviewed him, and after his first marriage ended, the two married. They remained together for nearly 5 decades, until his death. Gregory Peck represented the elegance of the perfect gentleman, but the man at number 8 had a more fragile kind of beauty, and one terrible accident would change his face forever. Number 8. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift possessed a very different kind of beauty, delicate, intense, and deeply vulnerable. There was something almost haunting in his eyes, making him one of the most unforgettable faces of the 1950s. His image became immortal alongside Elizabeth Taylor in A Place in the Sun. They became extraordinarily close friends. Taylor was one of his greatest confidants and remained devoted to him until the end. Clift never married, and he guarded his private life carefully. Among his relationships were choreographer Jerome Robbins and actor William Lemessina. At a time when such relationships could threaten a Hollywood career, that part of his life remained far from public view. Then, in 1956, everything changed. After leaving a gathering at Elizabeth Taylor's home, Clift suffered a devastating car accident that permanently altered his appearance. He survived, but the pain remained. In the years that followed, chronic pain and increasing dependence on medication and alcohol took a heavy toll. Yet Clift continued acting, ultimately receiving 4 Academy Award nominations during his remarkable career. In 1966, Montgomery Clift died of a heart attack. He was only 45. Montgomery Clift remains the embodiment of sensitive, almost tragic beauty. But number 7 belonged to a man who turned elegance itself into an art. Number 7. Clark Gable. Clark Gable didn't have a perfect face, but he possessed something even more powerful: charisma impossible to ignore. His confident smile, commanding voice, and unmistakable presence earned him one of Hollywood's greatest nicknames, the King of Hollywood. He won the Academy Award for It Happened One Night, but his most unforgettable role was Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, opposite Vivien Leigh. That performance made him one of cinema's most legendary leading men. Gable married 5 times, but the great love of his life was actress Carole Lombard. They married in 1939 and found a few precious years of happiness together. Then, in 1942, tragedy struck. Lombard was returning from a war bond tour when her plane crashed. Gable was devastated. He later married again, but when he died, he was laid to rest beside Carole. Clark Gable died in 1960 at 59 after a heart attack. He was more than handsome. He was the leading man who defined an era. Do you agree with his place in our ranking? Did you know the story of Clark Gable and Carole Lombard? Number 6. Cary Grant. Cary Grant turned masculine elegance into an art. With his irresistible smile, impeccable style, and wonderful sense of humor, he remained one of Hollywood's most sophisticated leading men for decades. But the perfect gentleman had been born Archibald Leach into a modest family in Bristol. Before Hollywood, he worked as an acrobat and vaudeville performer, skills that later gave his comedies their wonderfully effortless charm. He starred alongside some of the most celebrated women of his era: Katharine Hepburn, Ingrid Bergman, and Grace Kelly. And Alfred Hitchcock understood his appeal perfectly, combining Grant's elegance with an intriguing touch of mystery in films like To Catch a Thief and North by Northwest. His private life was rather more complicated. Grant married 5 times, including heiress Barbara Hutton and actress Diane Cannon, the mother of his only daughter Jennifer. He also shared a home, on and off, with actor Randolph Scott for years, a remarkably close relationship that has inspired speculation ever since. Grant was nominated twice for an Academy Award, but never won competitively. Then, in 1970, Hollywood finally honored him with a special Academy Award celebrating his extraordinary career. Cary Grant proved that a man didn't need to look dangerous to be irresistible. But number 5 had a deeper voice, impeccable elegance, and a magnetism almost impossible to ignore. If you're enjoying this video, give it a like and subscribe to Gisela's's Style Royal. That small gesture really helps our channel. Number 5. Sean Connery. Sean Connery possessed a mature, powerful kind of beauty. His deep voice, unmistakable Scottish accent, and effortless way of wearing a tuxedo made him one of cinema's most magnetic men. But before fame, his life looked completely different. He worked as a milkman, a coffin polisher, and an artist's model. He even competed in bodybuilding before acting changed his destiny. Then, in 1962, everything changed. Connery became cinema's first James Bond in Dr. No. Ian Fleming initially had doubts about him, but Connery gave Bond exactly what audiences loved: elegance, strength, confidence, and humor. He played James Bond 7 times, including Never Say Never Again. Away from the screen, Connery was first married to actress Diane Salento, the mother of his only son, Jason. Then, in 1975, he married artist Micheline Roquebrune, and they remained together for the rest of his life. Connery later won the Academy Award for The Untouchables, proving there was far more to him than James Bond. He died in 2020 at 90. Sean Connery represented sophisticated masculinity at its finest, but number 4 belonged to a man with a monumental presence, born to dominate Hollywood's greatest epics. Number 4. Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston seemed born to play heroes. Tall, athletic, and strikingly handsome, he possessed a monumental presence that filled the screen, even before he spoke a word. His image became forever linked to Moses in the Ten Commandments. But his greatest triumph came with Ben-Hur, where he played Prince Judah Ben-Hur and took part in one of cinema's most legendary chariot races. The film won an extraordinary 11 Academy Awards, and Heston took home the Oscar for Best Actor. He also commanded the screen in spectacular productions like El Cid, and years later captivated a new generation in Planet of the Apes. His physical strength and commanding presence made him almost perfect for Hollywood's great epics. But away from the screen, his story was remarkably stable. In 1944, he married actress and photographer Lydia Clark, and they remained together for 64 years until his death in 2008. Charlton Heston represented Hollywood's heroic ideal of masculine beauty. But number 3 belonged to a very different man. More rebellious, more intense, and perhaps a little more dangerous. Number 3. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando didn't have the polished perfection of other leading men. His appeal was different, intense, rebellious, and just a little dangerous. With his white t-shirt, defiant gaze, and natural acting style, he forever changed the image of the Hollywood leading man. His breakthrough came with A Streetcar Named Desire. Then came On the Waterfront and his first Academy Award. Years later, Brando returned transformed as Vito Corleone in The Godfather. The role earned him his second Oscar, but Brando refused the award in protest over Hollywood's treatment and portrayal of Native Americans. His private life was just as intense. He married 3 times, but some of his greatest tragedies came from within his own family. In 1990, his son Christian was imprisoned after killing Dag Drelay, the partner of his half-sister Cheyenne. He later pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter. Years later, Brando also suffered the devastating loss of his daughter Cheyenne. Marlon Brando died in 2004 at 80. But Brando was far more than one of Hollywood's most magnetic men. He changed acting forever and never feared challenging the industry that made him a star. But number 2 belongs to a man with unforgettable eyes, classic beauty, and effortless magnetism. Number 2. Paul Newman. Paul Newman had it all: beauty, talent, and extraordinary magnetism. His intense blue eyes became legendary, though Newman preferred audiences to remember his work rather than his looks. He shone in classics like The Hustler, Cool Hand Luke, and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Alongside Robert Redford, he created one of cinema's most beloved screen partnerships. After numerous nominations, Newman finally won the Academy Award for Best Actor for The Color of Money. But perhaps his greatest story happened away from the cameras. His great love was actress Joanne Woodward. They married in 1958 and remained together for 50 years until Newman's death. Their marriage became one of classic Hollywood's most enduring love stories. Acting wasn't his only passion. Newman also became an accomplished race car driver, pursuing motorsport for many years. He died in 2008 at 83 after battling cancer. Paul Newman seemed to have everything. But number 1 belongs to the man who turned natural beauty and American elegance into an unforgettable image. Number 1. Robert Redford. Robert Redford possessed a luminous, natural kind of beauty. His golden hair, blue eyes, and calm, effortless smile made him one of the great symbols of American elegance. His breakthrough came with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, alongside Paul Newman. He later captivated audiences opposite Barbra Streisand in The Way We Were and Meryl Streep in Out of Africa. But behind that radiant image, Redford experienced heartbreaking loss. His first son, Scott, died when he was only 2.5 months old. Decades later, in 2020, he also lost his son, James. Redford went on to win the Academy Award for Best Director for Ordinary People and founded the Sundance Institute, becoming one of the great champions of independent cinema. He was first married to Lola Van Wagenen, the mother of his 4 children, and later married artist Sibylla Zaggers. Robert Redford died in 2025 at the age of 89. Robert Redford takes our #1 spot because he combined beauty, serenity, and a magnetism that never seemed forced. For many, he was simply the perfect face of Hollywood. Which of these Hollywood heartthrobs would have taken your #1 spot? Tell me in the comments. Give this video a like and subscribe to Gisela'sStyleRoyal as we continue celebrating the glamour, elegance, and unforgettable legends of classic Hollywood. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.